Welcome children. This is the second part of Tertiary and Quaternary activities, which is chapter number 7 from your book 1, that is Fundamentals of Human Geography. In the previous part, we have discussed in detail what are tertiary activities, various types of tertiary activities, and then we have discussed in detail about trade and commerce, where we discussed about trading centers, rural market, urban market, and periodic markets. After that, we have also discussed in detail what are wholesale trading and retail trading. Now in this part, we will cover the rest of the topics, and we'll start with transport. Now, transport is definitely one of the major services that has developed in modern times. It includes physical transfer of material, manufactured good, and even people from one location to another. When we talk about that world has become a global village, it also means that the interaction between various countries, various geographical areas has increased, and this was possible mainly because of transportation. Now, in this modern society, it is an organized sector where we have various modes of transportation that are used not only for trade but for the transportation of people as well. At the same time, it is also a complex system which really needs to be checked and enhanced regularly. Now, we can measure distance in 3 different terms. First, we call it as a kilometer distance. Kilometer distance simply means that you are just calculating the length of route. Like the distance between Delhi and Agra can be 200 kilometers. Then we have time distance, where our main focus would be the time that would be taken to travel or cover the particular route. Like the distance between Agra and Delhi is of 3 hours. So that would be time distance. And the third one is cost distance. It includes the expenses or the cost that you are paying for traveling on a particular route. So like from Delhi to Agra, if you are traveling, you may have to pay rupees 200 for bus, or maybe rupees 1000 for a cab. So that these 3 are different types on which we can actually tell about the transport distance. Now, when we are talking about the transport system, different places, when they are linked together, there is a network. Okay, and this network is made up of nodes and links. Now, what is node? Node is a meeting point of 2 or more routes. Like 2 important routes are intersecting, so that would be nodes. It's a point of origin or point of destination. It can be a town, a city, or any major area. And when different roads that join two nodes, the roads that are joining 2 nodes are called as link. For example, if we consider Delhi as one node and Ghaziabad as another node, so the road that would connect Delhi and Ghaziabad would be called as a link. So these are few important terms that you need to remember in terms of transportation. Now, what are the factors that affect transport? Now, transport actually depends on this population size. This is the first single most important factor that creates demand, because where there is a population, there would be need for people to travel and also the movement of goods. So for that reason, major transportation routes, they arise only in densely populated region. The other factors that determine the transportation network is the location of the cities, the raw material suppliers, the type of trade that is happening between 2 areas, and the nature of landscape, because as you know, it is easy to construct any type of transportation lines in plain region, but it is very difficult to construct any type of transportation lines in mountain or hilly region. Then the types of climate. There are certain type of climate that are not suitable for all type of transportation, especially if we talk about mountainous region. In mountainous region, due to snowfall, we all know that we experience the blockages of road in winter season. So these things are not in favor of a very good transport networks. Then we have the availability of funds. So definitely the developed countries, they have more developed transport network than the developing or underdeveloped countries. Next, we move to the communication. Communication involves transmission of words and messages, facts and ideas. It can be verbal, it can be written. In modern terms, we are mainly dependent on written communication, and we have so many modes. But if we talk about the early time, then at that time we were not having any telephones or satellite wireless connections. So the messages were carried by hands, through animals, boats, roads, rails, or even airways. You all must be remembering or must be knowing that the pigeons were actually used to transport messages, and the the horse riders, they used to take message from one kingdom to the another kingdom. So for that reason, the transport was really very important for taking your communication to the next person. So for that reason, transport was also referred to as lines of communication. It means in the earlier period or earlier times, communication was dependent on transportation. So if transportation was not well developed, communication would also not happen. But the era in which we are living now, communication is independent of transportation, because now on just a click of a button you can communicate with any person sitting in any corner of the world. So now communication has not only become faster but also cheaper than the older ones. Some of you can actually ask your parents that, we have when you have to make international or different state calls or trunk calls, we really need to have to book them. You really cannot have a simple, just dialing and contacting a person. That type of communication was not present at that time. But now we have a luxury to sit in the comfort of our house and do a long talks. So that is the revolution that we all are witnessing. Now this revolution was actually possible because of telecommunication that developed with the help of satellites. Now when we talk about communication can broadly be divided into two groups. One is personal communication and other is mass communication. Personal communication means when you know who is going to receive your message or communication. Like when I am talking to my friend on a phone, that would be a personal communication. If I am writing email to a particular person, I know that person, I know that who is going to receive my email, and even my letter, physical letters if we are going to post. So all these are personal communication. But when whatever I am sharing is open to everyone, and I really cannot know who all are going to access this information or who all would be part of this communication, like magazines, like your newspaper, you don't know the print, the company that is printing these magazines and newspaper, they are not aware who all are going to read these things. Similarly, any blog, anything on the internet, that is also available for everyone. So these are mass communication, and they have very huge impact in creating public opinion. Now, radio, television, newspaper, internet, they are the mediums of mass communication, and these are basically divided into two groups. One is electronic, other is print. Electronic includes your radio, television, internet, and print media includes your newspaper, magazines, and other modes of that are printed. Now there are certain type of communication that are now discontinued, like we have telegraph earlier. Now we have telegram, but telegram is basically an internet version of what it used to be in the earlier times. Next we will talk about services. Services occur at many different levels. You must be knowing about the maids, servants, carpenters, laundry person. These type of services which does not require any professional qualification as such and can be learned easily, they come under the low order services. On the other hand, there are high order services which require some specialized degree or some specialized in a knowledge base. That includes accountant, consultant, physicians, etc. So we have these two broad categories where the professional people, they will make high order services, and the less trained people will make low order services. But definitely we need both. It's not about that we are demeaning any type of activity. It's only that for our convenience we have divided it in two groups, but both type of services are very, very important for the development of society. Now, there are certain services that are regulated by government because they are very important, and their maintenance, their supervision is highly important, like the maintenance of highways and bridges because they are needed for connectivity. Similarly, maintaining firefighting departments. Again, it's a disaster control group. So, we really need to have a complete access for everyone. Then supplying or supervising education and customer care. These are certain services that are supervised by government or the companies that have got this contract by government. Now there are certain services that are under legislation by state and the union governments, that includes transport, telecommunication, energy, and water supply. Then we have professional services like primary healthcare, engineering, law management. These all are supervised by the government. Then we come to the location of various activities or services. If you have to set up some restaurant, so the best part would be some market, some multiplex region. So because you will get more people there, and even you can have that area in central business district where a number of business meetings are taking place every day, but these areas are very costly. So if you require very huge area for the activity or for the service that you want to establish, you really need to move out of central business district. Like if you have to set up a golf course, you need a very huge area, so that would not be possible in the central part of a city. So usually these type of recreational activities are located on the outskirts of the city. The personal services are very important for making our life comfortable, especially if I talk about the urban area where we have life is very fast, people are working, and even the females are working, so we need to have some support back at home. So for it is also a very huge employment area for the unskilled labor who migrate to urban areas from nearby rural areas. They are working as a domestic help, housekeepers, cooks, gardeners. And we have a huge example here, one very great example, that is of Mumbai Dabbawalas. This is a tiffin service that provide service to nearly 1,75,000 customers all over the city. It's a huge number, and not to miss that Mumbai Dabbawalas, they have exceptional record of not making errors of delivering their tiffins to the customers. So it's a huge success. Come to the people engaged in tertiary activities. As we move from developing to developed status, number of people who are employed in tertiary sector keeps on increasing. And even if I talk about India is also coming in this category, and number of people who are getting employment in tertiary sector is increasing every year. We are next going to discuss in detail the tourism sector. Tourism sector is basically when you are taking travel mainly for the purpose of recreation rather than business. It's for enjoyment purpose, leisure purpose. It has become the single largest tertiary activity in total. It registered 250 million jobs. And if I talk about revenue, it is generating 40% of total GDP of the world, and that's a huge number. Lakhs of people are getting employment, and directly and also indirectly, like the people who are involved in giving you accommodation, meal, transport, entertainment. So they all are getting employment because of tourism. That not only this, but the artisans and different craft workers, their products are also getting recognition because of tourism industry. Now there are certain conditions, why people would move. So this is the best question. There are two major things that why people would move. In recent times, we have seen a great surge in tourism industry because the purchasing power, the lifestyle of people has increased. The improvement in their income levels have generated demand. They want to go out and spend quality time with their families. So for that reason, demand has increased. The second important factor is transportation. Because of the easy connectivity between various regions, people can now easily access new regions. They can go by air or by car, so whatever suits them. and whichever will take less time. So people can afford these things, and people are looking forward to the easy transportation. So these are the two factors that would determine your tourism industry. Wherever you will have better transport connectivity, that area would definitely have higher tourism demand. Now we have certain regions that are very popular among tourists. One of them is the Mediterranean coast and the west coast of India. If I talk about Mediterranean coast, it is very pleasant climate, and as we know that Europe is in temperate region, but this particular region experience very mild type of climate. So, and also it's a beach region, so people prefer to go there. Similarly, west coast of India, which covers your Goa, etc., so that even Kerala, so these are very popular tourist destination. Other than these, people would also like to go to mountain region for various type of sports activities, or to enjoy the scenic beauty of the regions, or even to visit national parks. So there are few reasons why would people go to certain area. So let us just discuss all these points in detail. Climate can be the first very important factor. The people who are living in very warm regions, they usually want to go to the cooler regions for a change, and the people who are living in a very cold regions, they would like to travel to warmer regions of the world. So for that reason, both type of climates are popular among different type of tourists. And Mediterranean climate or lands we have already discussed, they are very, very popular among tourists. Then we have landscape. Landscape means the natural beauty. Natural beauty also attract people. People want to enjoy the scenic beauty of mountains, lakes, coast, etc. Then history and art. Some people are very much inclined towards understanding history and art, and they want to see archaeological sites, they want to see the old buildings, old towns, so people do visit these areas. Then the next is culture and economy. Some people, they want to understand the culture, like many people come to India just to understand our customs, and they even stay in the regions where they could actually explore much about Vedic culture or even the Buddhist culture. So culture can be one very important reasons for the tourism. And other would be economy. There are certain provisions that we call it as a homestay. They are very profitable, and they are called as a heritage home in Goa and Madikera and Kurg in Karnataka. So we find that the people who want to have a longer stays, they don't prefer to stay in hotels, because that would be very expensive. So they look for homestays which are comparatively cheaper, and they get a home style of food and facilities available. So this is all about the tourism for recreation. But there is one more type of tourism that is increasing worldwide, and that is called as medical tourism. When you are going to some other country for some treatment, and in the process you will also visit some very important areas of that country. Medical tourism has increased in past few years when people are moving to the areas that provide cheaper and good quality medical treatment. India has become as a leading country where people are coming from world over, because we have very good hospitals, and we have metropolitan cities that could provide comforts to the patient who are coming from abroad. And also people come here for alternative therapies like Ayurveda, etc. Similarly, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, they have also become a hubs of medical tourism. Not only for treatments, but people also move to different areas to get some diagnostic test. And Australia has actually become, Switzerland and Australia has become leading regions where people go for specialized diagnostic tests. So these are the new venues of tourism that are opening up. And if I talk about numbers, about 55,000 patients have visited from United States of America to India for treatment in the year 2005. So it's a huge number, and it has a great potential in the coming years. Now we come to the quaternary activities. Now till now we have discussed about tertiary activities. So we are still in a service sector, but now our services are going to be more specialized. So in a traditional system, we only divide our economy in three groups: primary, secondary and tertiary. But in the present stage of specialization, even we have a further division of service sector. So tertiary mainly includes your traditional services, but the quaternary are new age services. It includes more of research and development work and very high specialized knowledge and technical skills. So if I talk about quaternary activities, the simple definition, so it would be quaternary activity involves some of the following: the collection, production and dissemination of information, or even the production of information. So quaternary activities, they are centered around research development and very high specialized skills. So who all could be part of this? All the people who are involved in some research work, like our scientist community, all the people who are giving you some type of information, like your mutual fund manager, tax consultant, statisticians, and the software developers, those who are very, very specialized people. So they are very important and their services are indispensable. So we also call it as now knowledge sector, because they are working on the knowledge. So this is the new division that has developed in recent years. Now what could be the next thing? It's culinary activities, the fifth level of services. Now till now we have talked about services that are being provided, but what about the decisions that have to be made in an economy? I'll just give you a simple example from a recent past. Like we all know, in the COVID crisis period, various scientists, various researchers, they were working on developing vaccine. But then, who has ordered them? Who has taken the authority, or who has given them permission to go ahead with this research? So that would be the people on the upper ladder of decision making, and we call them as culinary activities. It's the highest level of decision making or policy making. So at times we call them as a golden collar worker, because they are the professional who are most powerful, and only with their command or their leadership, rest of the activities or services can actually work properly. So very senior research scientist, government official, business executive, legislative people, they all will come under this category. So we have already seen 5 divisions of economy: primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary and quinary. We never know, in the next coming years we might have 6th and 7th level also. With specialization, these divisions will definitely increase, but as if for now we'll rest on quinary. Now there is important term that is called as outsourcing, and it's a buzzword. See, for any business or for any economy, it is very important to keep the input cost low and output or the profits high. So for that reason, the developed countries, they are outsourcing their work to the developing countries, where they'll get cheap and qualified labor. Like you must be knowing about BPOs, that the BPOs in normal language, they are called as call centers. So the people sitting here in India, they are working for some American firm. People sitting in Africa would work for any of the United Kingdom firm. So this is outsourcing, the work which does not require your physical movement, and it could be done from various geographical locations. So this type of work is outsourced because of cheap and skilled labor available in other countries. Now this has also increased to KPOs. KPOs means knowledge processing outsourcing. Now knowledge is also being shared over the geographical territories. Now teacher sitting here in India can teach the student from America. An American teacher can take a tuition of Australian child. So this is how KPO would work. So if we are working for business, that would be called as business process outsourcing, that is BPO. If we are working for some type of knowledge, like medical transcriptioners or some teachers, so they would be called as KPO. One more word is used for this outsourcing, that is called as home shoring. And we have seen in COVID situation, this has actually become very, very huge industry, and now people are actually thinking to make it as a normal way of working that we call as a work from home. Because work from home is different from outsourcing, but it's a extension of it. For work from home, you may be working for your organization that is located in your city, but when we are talking about outsourcing, it has to be outside of your geographical territory. And the countries like India, many Asian countries, many African countries are getting benefited because we are getting good pay or good wages for the work that we are doing. And in the countries where people usually have good command over English, they have better opportunity for outsourcing work. Then we have the last topic that is called as digital divide. Now we have talked so much about different activities that are related to computers, that are related to outsourcing, but then we also need to focus, or we need to realize the fact that there are people who do not have access to internet or the mobile or the devices. And then there is a category where people have all the access to these things. So this creates a digital divide where the computer and related technology is not available for some. They would lag behind. And the countries or the regions where people have very handy access to computer technology and devices, they will definitely take advantage of this growth. So this is actually increasing difference in two groups. So the poverty levels or the difference level or imbalance would definitely increase in the regions which are not having good access. So we really need to think on these lines, how to cover this digital divide and how to make knowledge accessible to all. Now there is a small box in your book that talks about various colors and the nature of work. So red collar workers are the people who are working in primary sector. Golden collar workers are the people who are working in culinary sector. White collar workers are usually people who are working in professional or the tertiary sector. Grey collar workers are the people who are matured and who are quite aged, and then they are working as mainly as a top level managerial post. Blue collar workers are the people who are working in secondary sector. Pink collar workers are usually used for the female employees. So this is all about the chapter, and I hope you have liked the video. I would keep on continuing with the rest of the chapter, so just keep associated with the channel for further videos. Till that, bye bye, take care.